He's someone, for the first time in our political tradition, we've elected someone that within the party has broad support. You know, you hardly see anybody say a bad word about. He's got good interpersonal relations. He's very respectful. And, you know, in times past, when somebody wins an election, all of us, the losers, we are lined up to go to the person's residence and pledge support. I quite remember in 1992 when Professor Dubois won, those of us in the Young Executive Forum who supported Dr. Kwame Safo-Addo, he led us to Prof and said, I'm handing over these young people to you to support you. But Umia did not even wait. He's visited each and every one of us, you know, spoken to us about his decision to really work in concert with all of us who contested him. And that is a mark of someone who is very open, very respectful, and a unifying factor. Of course, there are difficulties. In an election, it can be very abrasive, and some tough things were said. But for him to have that presence of mind and the character, and for me, it's the character of the man that attracts me to him very much.
So you said the first difference is the man, but the other difference will also be the time that we're in, because the type of politics you did in 92, 98, 2000, I think it's changed a lot. For example, social media has become very prominent.
Very prominent in
what you are not in control as much of the narrative as you were 20 years ago.
Of course, I mean, because of social media, I mean, anybody can set up a TV station at home and say the toughest of words and unprintable words sometimes. So it's a difficult area to navigate, especially in this kind of scenario. But I do believe that, again, after he won, he settled down to work very quickly, which I think was very good. I mean, his main opponent had been elected perhaps 8-9 months earlier, and he sat at home, did nothing. Bawumia quickly put together his campaign team, put together the manifesto team, you understand, set about his first phase or sector of campaigning, where he visited all the 16 regional capitals. And for the first time in the political history of this country, you had a candidate who was bringing all facets of society together at a sitting. These stakeholder meetings, nobody has ever done it in the history of politics.
Really?
In this country, nobody. Nobody has had consistently go to a region, you bring all the clergy together with the Islamic scholars, the chiefs, then the traditional authority, the business people, artisans, taxi drivers, garages, all of them, they are leaders. And it happened in all the 16 regions. You know, and the fact that for the first time, as many people, you know, just giving testimony to even bring the two major religions together under one roof, you know, it has created a certain sense of unity. It's been a unifying way of bringing people together, solidifying their Ghanaianness, you know. So now the kind of mistrust that used to exist between religions has significantly reduced. And I think it's down to perhaps his own upbringing as a person. I mean, you know, he comes from a very interesting family. His mother was a Methodist before she married the father and then changed over to Islam. And so you've got brothers and sisters, 17 still alive, 9 of whom are Christian, 8 of whom are Muslim. So in his household,
the two, but that's very similar to his main opponent, actually.
That's right.
Because his main opponent too has siblings who are Muslim and he's Christian. And
so you see, I mean, he's had that affection for everyone. I think his background too has made him very empathetic, you know. So he's been through tough times. Although you can say his father was a middle-class person, but when you have 17 siblings, sometimes things can be tough, you know. So being in school in Sakasaka Primary, it's not a very upmarket primary school. This is a very basic school in Tamale. Went to Tamale Secondary School, So he knows his way around the town. And that's no wonder he's now the patron of many, many societies that care for the poor, especially the needy. He's been working with Father Campbell of the Catholic Church for street children.
Are you emphasizing these attributes because of the nature of the contest that brought him as the flag bearer? Because it was pretty acerbic at some point, particularly with his main opponent, where some very difficult things were said. We don't have time to play all those tapes, but at some point in that campaign, there was even a concern that it could divide the party, you know, until the contest was over. And so are you talking about these unifying things because the contest itself?
I'm talking about the man himself, his own character. And I've known him for a significant amount of time. And during President Kufuor's time, I served as press secretary. At the time, he was a PA to Governor Paul Akwa. And so we had quite a number of meetings, either in the castle or in London, on some of these missions. So I got to know him, not too closely as I do now. And so I think he's someone that most party people have affection for, and that's very good. You know, we have to understand that political party contests, there can only be one winner. I, as you said, was a contestant. You understand? And there were times that I had to make some historical corrections. You understand? And some people misconstrue this to mean attacks. Those are not attacks. I think it's important that the record of this country should be properly stated. And then, so when there are issues that have to be corrected, you correct them. But that is where we have an internal contest. I mean, if you look at our main opponents, they also had some very tough battles and tough statements made, but the same people are supporting the candidate. So for me, it's important that right from day one, political tradition, in 1992, I mean, we all remember the famous statement from J.H. Mensah. And J.H. Mensah was closely related to J. Kufuor. You remember the issue of the cassava?
Banchidada.
You understand. But that did not stop him from supporting the campaign of Mr. Kufuor.
But does that not, when, for example, you said that people who supervised the economic decline should not be presented by MPP to lead it?
Yes.
This was during your campaign launch.
Yeah, that's my
very
launch,
definite statement.
Yeah.
And now you're here telling us that you think that he should be given the mandate to lead Ghana.
He has been selected by the party, and I respect the authority of the party. I'm a Democrat, you understand. And he won significantly. I mean, first round, close to 70%. Second round, 61%. For a first-timer, this was my second time, for a first-timer, that was the highest. Aduboahen didn't get that, Kufuor didn't get that, Kufuor didn't get that on their first time. He had 61%. So what is working for him, there's broad support from the chairman.
But the fact that he won doesn't change the view you expressed about him. So when you
I didn't express a view about him. I was talking about the economic difficulties we were facing as a country. In fact,
you said that people who supervise that economic decline should not lead the party and present them for 2024.
So does it mean that at the end of the day, when the party has decided, because I said that I cannot contribute?
Were you stating a matter of principle, or you were just campaigning to say that?
You campaign, you say, you put your best foot forward. You understand? Your best foot is that, look, I talked about a new dawn, and now Bawumia talks about a new chapter. And I think he's got an opportunity to lead this country and this party in a new dimension, in a new era, with new ideas and new energy. Of course, he's learned a lot from the difficulties that we've seen over the last 2-3 years, especially after 2020, 21, 22, when the economy spiraled out of control. I was one of those who were out there trying to get the president to take action immediately. It didn't happen, okay? But I'm a party person. Once the party has decided this is the person, that is the choice of our party. We should respect the majority's decision.
That's true, but we also, as politicians, we've said that sometimes if we want people to take us seriously,
that is what you're going to say.
No, I'm just saying.
No, we are going to be consistent.
Because I think you made some serious statements about his candidature. So now that
I didn't make statement about his candidature. I was talking about the economy of our
and the
country.
People who brought us where we are, of which he was the leader of the economic management team.
Yes, yes.
So if you come back to us and say we should vote for him, what has changed? Just because the party selected him?
What has changed is that this was a political contest. So you are saying that I should now not do politics?
No, that's not
again?
what I'm saying.
No, I want you to put yourself in my shoes. So what should you do?
Well, I didn't say the things you said, so I wouldn't know what you should do.
I mean, don't look at only the MPP. No. Worse things were said by Dr. Dufo about Mahama. Kojo Bonsu said things about Mahama. They are all following him. And you can go to America. Worse things were said in America. In UK, Boris Johnson was supporting the former Prime Minister. You understand? So
we should take that as the nature of politics.
Of course, it's important that when you are in a contest, you have to put your best foot forward. It was quite clear I hadn't been part of the political system, and that if I had been elected, yes, I wanted that new dawn, somebody who was fresh. You understand? But it does not mean that when the party has selected our candidate, we shouldn't rally around him.
So what is your role as senior campaign aide? What does that mean in practice?
What it means is I bring all the experience that I've gathered, 30 years of politics, worked at the presidency for close to 6 years, been general secretary of the party, to support our candidate because I know the terrain. And so that we can navigate the gullies that you be confronted with in politics. So that is very important. And I think, as I said, his own attitude of being an all-embracing character, a very respectful character, has worked in his favor. It is not for nothing that I believe he used his tenure as vice president very well to win the support of the majority in parliament, a significant majority in parliament. You know, when he contested people who were parliamentarians, that shows you that he had grown and matured politically. And he had the majority of parliamentarians behind him, the majority of constituency chairmen behind him, majority of regional chairmen and executives behind him. I do think that in recent times, this is the leader.
It has his main opponent campaign with him, the Kennedy Agyapong, who was second.
Yes, he does.
Is he campaigning with him, for him?
Yes, I'm sure you've seen the pictures. We were in Central Region, not only there when we were in Kumasi, he joined us. He's not been with us throughout. Certain times he's been with the vice presidential candidate as well. Okay. So he's on board, he's campaigning. And so that's how...
So just finally on that point, so probably the only blip on all of that is the departure of Alan from the party.
Yes, which I found very sad because we all worked together from 1991-92, played significant roles in the formation of this political tradition, and he also had been placed in significant roles cumulatively. I don't think anybody has been a minister in one portfolio for close to 12 years in this country, historically. And then being an ambassador to the US. So when the party gives you such wonderful opportunities, I think you should return the compliment.
So far, politics in Ghana does not show that when you leave a major party, you succeed necessarily. But to the extent that this is a different demographic and a different election, how concerned should MPP be about the fact that he is running as an independent candidate?
Every vote counts. Every vote counts. And the chances that you chip at your vote is important. That is something that confronts us. But that is what we have to deal with. Continue to work hard. It's like a 100-meter race. You have your competitors, but you have to focus on your lane and be hard-nosed and run your best. Because it's too late now to try to reach out, of course. And I was very hurt that happened, but it has happened. We have to deal with it and fight through the elections. I'm very confident that the record of the party, especially around the country, the request of the communities, things that matter to people, and if you look at the infrastructure that has been delivered, of course, the far-reaching policy of the free senior high school, which has impacted every household. Places that hadn't seen coal tar before have seen it. And the health facilities that have been brought on board, facilities that have been completed. these are things that matter to Ghanaians. You know, so yes, Accra is very cosmopolitan, and you take the most heat, especially of economic fallout. You understand? So there's a lot of, you know.
So you sort of get the sentiment around the economy and hardship, but you sort of feel it may not necessarily be national, but it's more urban Accra.
It's worse in the urban areas.
Okay.
It's more difficult in the urban areas. I mean, life in the rural areas, food is much cheaper, and people have a way of fending for themselves. They may not have to rent a building. They have their own way. So it's a completely different scenario. You understand? But notwithstanding, it's a tough political battle. And in this country, it is always going to be, because we are almost down the middle. The NDC normally would do their 42, 43. The NPP will always do 46, 47. There's a little spread in there that the candidate has to attract to travel over the 50+1. Fortunately for us, and I do believe in all humility that we have the numbers, and that's why when we win, the NPP wins, the margins are very big. But the NDC generally bigger. The NDC wins is not as good as, of course.
So your steady state is a bit higher than theirs.
Yeah, of course, our steady state is naturally higher.
But you admit that 15 or so % that tilts it is mostly the
the 15
middle class urban group.
I wouldn't say so. It's not. I don't think it's even up to 15. You know, when you get closer to elections, that band tightens to about 8 or 9%. That band tightens, because what is important is to get your base animated and enthusiastic enough not to be gripped with apathy. And of course, when you have been in government, you suffer from apathy. So that's one of the things that we are working very hard on, and especially where there has been fallout from the campaigns, both presidential and parliamentary, because sometimes it's not only the cooperation and the collaboration at the top, it's at the base that matters. The election is run in the constituencies, and you have 275 fighting units in the...
Let's deal with that point a bit. So you say NDC have their 42, 43, MPP has their 46, let me give you that. So that's about 88. So let's even say it's 12% left. The key thing about 2024 is that for the first time, Greater Accra's population overall is at par with Ashanti.
Yes.
In the past, Ashanti has been the biggest. Yeah. And again, the sentiment in Accra is more reflective of the urban hardship, more so than any other place.
That's correct.
Does that not change the calculus? That Accra is now, the population is about 5 million, similar to Ashanti now.
Accra, no party dominates Accra. No party dominates Accra. So if we are able to energize our base and our support base, even if you lose it, it is marginal. You lose it. Population-wise, it's going to be marginal. It may affect the seats sometimes, because you need just a vote to win a seat. But if you accumulate, you add the cumulative...
Wouldn't your Accra supporters be apathetic?
No. So far since we've been around, the energy that I've seen has surprised me. They're very energetic. They've come out in their numbers. They are working very hard. You know, so once the base of the party is strong, I'm very confident. You know, of course, I mean, you've only been in power for 7 years. There are always issues. People who feel that their aspirations have not been met and all that. And of course, you knew what happened with the primaries. Certain key members of parliament were bumped off. But these are the vagaries of democracy. And so you have to deal with that fallout. But I'm pretty confident that we may surprise a few in Accra. And in any case, people have forgotten that for the first time, electing Dr. Bawumia also has disarmed the NDC of their most potent propaganda weapon. Because from 1992, all they need to do is to go into the Zongos and do a very ethnocentric campaign, talk about the MPP, pigeonhole us as an Asante party, not even an Akan party, and create the hate that we don't respect the rest of the country, we don't respect people from the north and all that. And in fact, from 1992, they resurrected the Aliens Compliance Order. So for them, they've been masters in propaganda. You know, what we used to call the communist inferior tactics.
Communist imperial tactics.
You know, so they've been masters in propaganda. You know, and to the extent that their candidate was out there telling the whole world he wants to see whether his younger brother, Mahmoud Bawumia, will be giving them not. He knows this party, these Ashanti people, they will never give it to him. Didn't he say that? Didn't he say that? You heard him say that. Emphasized by his General Secretary, Fifi Kwete. They believed it so much, you understand. But the party thought otherwise. They voted 61%. So,
and maybe if the candidate goes and then people are unhappy, have you had to do some of that with your own testimony?
I say this in all humility. It's not I'm trying to some self-aggrandizement or anything, but there are many people, that ordinary people, sometimes I'm surprised that they recognize you. Old women who will call you across when you are walking. Sometimes when Dr. Bawumia is walking, I take a back seat, then I look around, they'll call you and say, look, because of what you've done, we are going to vote. We remain supportive of this party. And we appreciate the support you are giving to Dr. Bawumia. People believe that party loyalty is essential, is important. And that's how you can smoothen over some of the wounds of our party warriors. You know, the party at the local level, people support the party in different ways. And some people go through a lot to give of their best to support a political party. And so it is important that we assuage that kind of pain with a language that is necessary and complementary to what they have to do. So I'm very, very hopeful that especially those who feel peeved that their candidate did not win a primary, or their candidate did not win the presidential, to feel a sense of belonging, you know, and work hard. And that's why we have values as a political tradition. And this political tradition survived the vagaries of Ghana's political arena for over 60 years because we believe in those core values, you know, that the triple S that I used to talk about when I was running. Service to the tradition, be able to sacrifice, and also be selfless. And I think that should anchor all political activity, both at the leadership level and at the local level. And that's why I think this MPP has been successful as a political tradition. No individual is bigger than this party. Dubois had his time, he's gone. Kufuor had his time, he's gone. Akufo-Addo is in control, he's going to go very soon. It's Bawumia's time now. He's the leader of the party, elected at that. You know, so people should understand that politics is about service to society. Once we have a mindset change, that what governance is about, and I have been a canvasser for that, it's about the welfare of the ordinary people, especially the underprivileged.
So what's Bawumia's message to Ghanaians? What is he telling Ghanaians?
I mean, his message has gone down very well with the Ghanaian, everywhere he's been. Preached about the clarity of his views and what he wants to do for a future Ghana. And I think what people have recognized is that this is someone who is very genuine. He comes across as very genuine. He's telling them that the world is changing, so we need to have digital jobs. Right now, he intends to train 1 million Ghanaians. Sorry.
Yeah. A lot of campaign and talking.
Yeah.
We have water.
That's right, don't worry. You know, so that you can have, right now, there's a lot of opportunities for people to do jobs sitting in Ghana. The Indians are cashing in on that. And we need to train a cadre core of Ghanaians to be able to benefit from that. He recognizes that one of the things threatening us is the job situation. And because of technology now, the traditional industries don't take up that much people. And we are producing a lot of people. And so his emphasis is going to be on agriculture. He said that. I do believe that if we really place a lot of emphasis on processing of a lot of our crops, our produce, and we support the Ghanaian people. And now that we've brought in TVET education, so that we have a middle range of technicians to maintain equipment, we can get one agriculture, the value chain, right through the end, right through to marketing, and make sure that our farmers produce for our country, and by so doing, we reduce the cost of food in this country. Very important. He's talked about that to people. People really like the emphasis on agriculture, because 50 to 60% of Ghanaian population are involved one way or the other with agriculture. And I think once we get that right, and Ghanaians begin to become wealthy and they make money, that money stays here.
But I don't speak for all Ghanaians, but yeah. Is that a challenge for him in the sense of trying to promote something like agric when in the past 7.5 years, you've had a very big agric policy called one village, one dam, planting for food and jobs. And as I speak to you, we've had to depend on donors for some food aid because it's a mini drought in the north, and we are having to essentially say if we don't get help, people can't get food to eat. So a couple of weeks ago, the agriculture minister announced that we'd had to get help from some agencies to supply food. As I speak to you, inflation has come down to a point only until September for food inflation to drive it up again. Yeah. So if you're now pushing, for example, one of your agendas an agric thing,
but that's the more reason why you should place emphasis on that.
But we need to look at his track record before, right? You are incumbent government. So if you're telling us what you're going to do in agric, and you've had 7.5 years of implementing agric policies that we still necessarily...
But we have done still much better than the previous government.
In what sense?
You look at the rates of growth in agriculture. They almost hit negative growth under Mahama.
Which year are you talking about?
Oh, of course, unless you are not looking at the figures. Unless you're not looking at the figures. So I think it's important that if you want to do record against record, fine. I think, and it is clear, when he delivered his statement in UPSA on the 7th of February, it was very clear the comparison between the two, despite the problems that we have seen. And also don't forget, there has been very massive global challenges in this period. Nobody is saying that is the only excuse, but it has affected all over the world. Inflation around the world is not only in Ghana. Food prices, everything has gone up.
Fair enough. But
so what is important? No, I think...
you see, we are not talking about NDC. You can talk about NDC, fine, but we're talking about the current state
is a competition.
Of agric.
First and foremost, Ghanaians are having to make a choice between Mahama and Dr. Bawumia.
And other parties.
Oh, please, these are the top two candidates. There's no doubt in my mind at all about that. But Mahama has had the opportunity.
You think Ghanaians will measure your performance against Mahama or your performance against their expectations of you? Because it's not necessarily a mix. Because Mahama left power in 2016.
It's a mix of both. And people, I can tell you, he's earned the respect of people. Okay? He's initiated over 30 new policies that have impacted the lives of Ghanaians. For instance, I mean, you may take it for granted, the things that you can do with that mobile money interoperability. It didn't used to exist. In making life easier for people. I quite remember I was in the US quite recently, and I got a call that the electricity in my house was dwindling. Once you have internet, you could buy electricity. It didn't used to happen because you couldn't move.
Either on mobile money or mobile
money interoperability. That policy has impacted the lives. Today, when we are going around, the cocoa farmers were saying that today they are no more attacked by armed robbers because they have their monies on their phones.
Well, of course, so you can emphasize that, but Kwabena, don't forget that the most important message of Dr. Bawumia in opposition and in government has been the economy. So yes, mobile, digital, whatever is great. Do you not suppose that the most important question for him will be the state of the economy, issues around the exchange rate, for example?
First and foremost, I don't think you reserve the right to decide what Ghanaians see as...
I'm asking questions on their behalf.
Well, they are listening to us. They would vote. Yes, I have said, and we all know that exchange rate volatility has been one of the most difficult things. I personally have expressed my views on these matters.
And that was his main message.
I think that this country... we should not, after 40 years of having this floating mechanism, it hasn't worked. Right from the Rawlings administration that took us to IMF in 1983. We need to have because our economy is not as developed and regulated as the Western world. So we cannot just import Western solutions in an economy that is largely informal. You have people selling currency on the streets. We've got to get the Bank of Ghana to sanitize the environment. You don't even know who takes that decision to move it from 7 cities to 16 cities. You understand? Sometimes we have to even query, and I do believe these are things that he has looked at, and there will be some radical shakeups when he takes over power.
He campaigned on that basis, and he was the head of economic management team. So if the currency moved from 4 to 16 under his tenure,
it is one
we
of the
should question his competence in dealing with whatever he promises on the economy, because that was the basis.
Then Mahama should not be standing.
Well, Mahama's currency exchange depreciation was not like
that's
yours.
Not what I'm talking about. I'm saying yes, we are comparing records.
And on the currency exchange rate, yours is worse.
That is one.
But that's very important.
It is important. There are many
exchange
things.
Rates, inflation,
there are many things
interest
that we have done
are the three critical rates.
There are many things that we have done much better. And so we are carrying our message to the people, and it is resonating with the people. Yes, we accept the difficulty of the exchange rate regime. We know that. We accept that. And he's moving on.
Has he accepted that? Has he apologized to Ghanaians?
He doesn't need to.
He politicized it.
Why do you? Why?
No, because
the fact that you are not able to attain certain things doesn't mean you should come and apologize. I don't understand this obsession with apologies.
He said if the fundamentals are weak,
we have an election to win.
He needs to deal with that.
We have an election to win. We are confident our message is resonating with the Ghanaian people. They will take the decision on the 7th. And you and I will come and sit here and see Dr. Bawumia do 53%. And then you see that the people, they respect him, they trust him, they believe he's a good person, and he's the one who, he has got clarity of thought.
I'm not here to doubt Dr. Bawumia's competence. What I'm saying is that the message he gave us, there has to be consistency, and his track record will influence people's decision to vote.
Against all that background, he's moving and he's speaking to the people. And he's the only leader who's held town hall meetings and allowed people to ask questions from A to Z. They ask all these economic questions. He's answered them, and they are satisfied
so
with his answer.
What is his answer to the exchange rate?
So
what answer does he give to the exchange rate?
I don't think you should just sit on that.
No, I just want to know.
I've told you that it's one of the difficult things that we face as a country. Okay? And I do believe that a country that produces gold and has these reserves of gold should not be exchanging more than 5 cedis to $1. But we are now operating with a floating mechanism. We reserve the right as a country to change that. There are many countries.
Is he promising to make it fixed? Or this is your view?
I think he is believing in using gold to anchor it, and he believes that by pushing that policy, it will bring it down. On my personal,
you have your personal view
on that. I think that we should force it down. In times past, we had what we call an import license regime. The question is, in Ghana, the dollar is not legal tender. Why are people using dollars in the country?
Because we've allowed it.
That's what I'm saying. So central government, I think the supervisory role of the central government has been very weak. The central bank has been very weak. I mean, there are no countries, even in Africa. You go to Senegal, you can't pay anything in dollars. In Ghana, it is happening. That should be stopped. And if you look at the kind of things he said in the preamble to the manifesto, imposing order and discipline is very important. Cutting down the waste in our country is very important to him. So there's going to be a significant and radical shift in the way he's going to handle things. And a lot of us, it aligns with our beliefs, and that's why we feel attracted to him. And a great many Ghanaians believe in what he's doing. They have more confidence in him to deliver us to the next level as Ghanaians than someone who's had the opportunity as president, where the buck stops at his table. At least Bawumia has not been president before. And I believe that great many Ghanaians are prepared to take a risk with him than someone who's had the opportunity and could not use it properly. And he hasn't had the opportunity. Yes, he's been number 2 in a difficult environment. That one nobody can deny. And as a friend of mine keeps saying, I mean, we have to repair the breach. There are certain things, there are shortcomings as human beings, as government, and I think he knows and he accepts. and he's going to work hard to change that.
We'll think about that. We'll be back with more. This is Point of View. Kwabena Agyapong talking to us about Dr. Bawumia and the campaign. It's 2 months to election 2024. Stay with us. We'll be right back. We are still on the Point of View. My guest, Kwabena Agyapong, senior campaign aide. He's a campaign strategist because he's been doing this. In fact, in 2020, he was invited.
Of course, if you're a serious opposition who believes that you're going to win an election, you will not be creating or orchestrating chaos in the country.
Oh, so you think that Galamsey is an opposition orchestration? Is it irritating the campaign, or is the campaign happening underground? Because there's a lot of sentiment within the public space around the ills of Galamsey. How is that affecting you guys on the field?
It's just a failure of the opposition to campaign. And so now they think,
opposition?
Of course. If you're a serious opposition who believes that you're going to win an election, you will not be creating or orchestrating chaos in the country.
Oh, so you think that Galamsey is an opposition orchestration?
Let me tell you something.
Wow.
Let me tell you something. Galamsey has been around for a long time. In fact, in 2022, I, as a candidate, said I would support a moratorium on surface mining.
Yeah.
And I said several things. I've never been a supporter of mining, anyway, because I'm an environmentalist. And I do believe that Africa and Ghana, after 100 years of mining, we've just given money to the cartel in Australia, in Canada, in South Africa, and in UK, the Lonros of the world. And for anything that we don't benefit from, they give us just a pittance. And they have taken our riches, whether it's in Congo or Ghana or Guinea. So I'm someone who is not in favor of mining. And
generally?
Generally. And I even said at the time that I think that if indeed our generation cannot let the people benefit from mining, they will leave the
metal in
at
the
that
earth.
time, all the people making the noise, were they not in this country? So what has changed? There are 60 days to elections. What has changed in the heat of a campaign? In the heat of a campaign, especially in 2020.
So what are you insinuating, that this whole Stop Galamsey now is orchestrated by the opposition?
I'm saying that we have an election. So if it is a genuine concern about dealing with Galamsey and what has to be done, then the proponents of that should have a plan and sit with the two key parties.
But they've proposed, they've listed what should be done.
No, that is not. Do you know
the Ghana Academy of Arts and Science have listed 4 things.
When you say
that
there should be a state of emergency, do you know that?
The Ghana,
2 months to an election,
Ghana Academy
there should be a state of emergency in Ghana?
On the 15th of December 2023, the Academy issued a 16-page press statement.
2023.
I'm telling you.
And you guys never ventilated it.
It was in the news.
Never ventilated
and they proposed
it.
4 actions, including revocation of the LI to allow mining in forest reserves. They asked for a halt of surface mining, and they asked for a plan because they said
they were supporting what I said.
But this is
what I said.
I'm challenging your point that this is 2 months. This is 2023 December, so it couldn't be 2 months.
No, what I'm trying to say is I said this in 2022.
And
what is happening is very sad for our country, okay? But again, we don't do Galamsey even in Accra. If you are serious about something, you want to protest about it, we've got to go to the areas and engage with the people who are, because they are Ghanaians like you and I.
But the government is in Accra.
The government is not in Accra.
The seat of government is in Accra.
And those lands that people are on do not belong to government. Who tells you government owns those lands?
Has the power of the state.
Anyway,
they are asking the government to solve the problem.
In my view, the government started, especially in 2017, 2018, with different methods, Galam Stop and other things that didn't work. We all saw the then candidate Mahama and many of his officers. They have videos of that. I don't know why you are not discussing that. Virtually encouraging people to do it, and saying that they should vote for them when they come back. Those who had been arrested will be released.
So how come then it becomes their orchestration now?
Because because this can cause disaffection for the sitting government.
So you think that this massive campaign
and then, look,
is
a lot
an opposition orchestration?
No, look, please don't.
No, I'm trying to understand.
What is important is that
it's very important. Because this campaign was revived because the Ghana Water Company took media people to its water treatment plants and showed that the levels of stability of water was making it impossible to process water, which was why it became news again.
So you are telling me that the NDC is confident that they are winning. So I
have not told you that. I have not said that yet.
You have been saying
No, I haven't said that yet.
So what is their plan? Have they outlined?
I'm asking about, the question is about why Galamsey has taken over the campaign.
At least Dr. Bawumia has been very clear that this random mining is not good, that there should be sustainable mining, and that we've got to really revive the Geological Services Department, to resource them, to make sure that the undeveloped gold belts have to be clearly delineated. And we need to empower Ghanaian businessmen who want to go into mining to do proper and sustained mining. And mining in rivers should be off limits. That has been
That's what he said.
He said
but
that several
doesn't
times.
the inaction of the president impinge on his campaign? Because he's the incumbent candidate. In the sense that the incumbent party's candidate. So whatever the president does or does not do, if inevitably will be pointed at him because it's the MPP in government.
But have you seen a candidate of NDC who is said to be a kingpin of Galamsey with their running mate campaigning and the pictures out there? Have you seen that?
Yeah, but the question I'm asking is about solving the problem.
The problem that Bawumia has clearly shown what he intends to do to solve the problem.
Yeah,
he's shown his way. Let the opposition also show us what they intend to do.
But what about the government?
What the opposition? Look, we are running a campaign.
But we have a country to also run.
Yes, but we have
the country comes before the campaign, doesn't it?
Well, we have 2 months to elections.
So,
and the last time.
So people should drink polluted water?
No, nobody says that. As when you make it so simplistic,
no,
you are making it very simplistic, Bernard.
It's because of the statement you made.
No,
people are saying that there is a health emergency, a social crisis, an economic crisis, an existential crisis facing us. Whether or not there's a campaign that should not affect the government's decision.
I'm saying that situation has been there for a very long time, especially if you said in 2020. I said that.
But it's gotten worse now. It's gotten worse now.
It's been like this for a very long time, and all of us have played ostriches to it. And now, because it inures to some people's political benefit, this thing has to be pushed. And I think it's completely unfair on Dr. Bawumia to try and hold him on that. You understand? He has provided a clear plan forward. And I think the unions should sit with all the parties and get clear commitments from them.
Shouldn't you be calling on the president to act? Because his mandate expires on 7 December 2025, irrespective of an election. He should do what he has to do, irrespective of a campaign.
I mean, he's doing what he has to do.
Is he?
Actions have been taken. People,
has he made a statement on Galamsey since the new campaign, the 2 months to election, whatever? Has he said anything?
The new campaign.
That's what you said.
That is what you are saying.
Quote unquote.
That's what you are saying. The new campaign.
It ebbs and flows.
No, not
it goes
ebbs and flows.
I
think, Ben, let's be honest with ourselves as Ghanaians. Practically, you can't solve this issue in a matter of 2 months.
Okay.
So Bawumia has done what any responsible politician should do. To give you the plan that, look, we need to do sustainable mining. What we have to do is to ensure that before licenses are issued, we know where the mineral deposits are, so that we just don't go about destroying the environment, clearing the greenery. And we tend to forget that all these things that you talked about, they are issues of technocrats advising the ministers, issues of, and they all belong to unions. You know, it's not, after all the advice, the technical advice has to come from people. You understand? Right. So I think it's important that it's easy to make the government the whipping boy. It's easy to do that. But as a people, there are technocrats being paid in the Minerals Commission, in the Forestry Commission.
They should do their work.
They should be asked questions.
I get you.
They should be asked questions. You understand? So this reason why we always just chase after politicians, because it's at the end of an electoral cycle, I don't think that helps the country at all.
All right.
It's important that we hold people responsible for the actions that they take. I was just coming from Amenfi with the campaign last week, the 3 Amenfis, and you can look at the devastation of the environment. I'm an environmentalist. That's what I did for my postgraduate. So I like greenery. I don't like to see trees being cut.
We'll have to end it here.
Okay? So I think it's important that as Ghanaians, we should not over-politicize issues. This is a very, very serious matter that should have engaged our attention a long time ago. Some of us sounded the warnings in 2022.
We've been dealing with this since 2016.
Yes.
Anyways,
Yes.
we'll leave it here. Thank you. I know there's a lot more to say. Time is not our friend for tonight. You have 60 days, hopefully.